can hear you, Hajj.
Okay, I just wanted to give you salams.
Alhamdulillah. Nick, Assalamu alaikum. I don't know if you can respond.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaikum salam. How you making out?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother Nick.
Dr. Hadid, assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. How you doing? It's good to hear your voice.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. And you?
Huh?
And you, how are you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing well. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking.
Okay, should I start now?
It is hot.
We ready, Habib?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
You recording?
Yes.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق الهادي إلى صراط المستقيم وعلى آله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذرياته وأهل البيت كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم إني أسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسرعنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم وما منا ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة المسير الجالي ومن عذاب النار وسوء المصير اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وعلى أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم بهمة الشيخ اغفر لنا بها المحضر وتأتي بنظرة تأتي من البحر أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good morning. Well, it's morning where I am, but probably afternoon where a lot of you are. So good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to our weekly Maliki Fiqh class with Shaykh Ameen, Abdul Awu, our Shaykh, our teacher. I'm not going to give a long introduction, but I first off, I want to just let people know, in case you don't know, this dua that I make at the beginning of the class, every week, you hear me say Fatiha, and then you hear me say a prayer on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then after that, you hear me say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan rasulullah. And the things that I say after that, these are the dua that Shaykh Ameen taught me while studying with him, that we say in the salah. So I say it every week because that's what I saw my teacher do. And so I wanted to let you all know this is what I'm doing so that you can hear it. And when we get to that lesson, inshallah, you'll be used to hearing it so you can say it in your prayer. And then after that, I also do a small dua that Shaykh Ibrahim Niyas, Rahtul alayhi, used to do when he would give speeches in public. So you hear me add a little bit at the end, that's what I'm doing. But most of that dua I'm just doing because this is what my teacher did so that you can hear it, so you can be prepared to do it in your prayer. I think somebody might need to mute their phone, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, shukran. In the way of introduction, I just wanted to say this today. So in Islam, if we're practicing our Islam, if we, alhamdulillah, have gotten to the point where we're making our salat, we fulfill our obligations, we fast on Ramadan, and we're trying to do a little bit extra, then you probably are aware, inshallah, hopefully you're aware of the many opportunities we have to get closer to Allah Ta'ala and to get forgiveness. Like when we fast during the month of Ramadan, or in every salat that we make, or the special times of the year, like when we fast during Dhul Hijjah, or like just now, in the month of Ashura that I believe we're still in, we fasted for a day or 2 days during this time so that we could get closer to Allah, so that we could get forgiveness. Even when somebody first takes Shahada, often you'll hear somebody tell them, now it's like you're a newborn baby. You're forgiven, you're pure. But the question that maybe we might ask ourselves after that is, how do we maintain that purity? How do we maintain that state of being free of sin and being pure and being forgiven, even though we know we're always gonna make sins because we're human? And then how do we show Allah our gratitude, our thankfulness for the fact that He gives us this big bounty and these opportunities to get forgiven and get purified? And the answer is by taking and implementing this information. So this information that we learn from Shaykh Ameen, if we learn it and we implement it, inshallah ta'ala, we can maintain that purity of heart that we obtain by taking shahada, by making salat, by fasting during the month of Ramadan, by making hajj. The way you maintain it and the way you show your gratitude for it is by learning and implementing this knowledge. Just like Allah says in this Quran, truly you've been given a big bounty. And so worship your Lord and sacrifice. So we worship Allah and we sacrifice our time, our effort, so that we can show our gratitude and we can maintain that purity. And the learning the information is important, and the implementing the information is important. Like Shaykh Ameen, he taught us when we learned about sujood sahwi, the prostration of forgetfulness that you do to make up any mistake if you make a prayer. When you make the prostration of forgetfulness, you get big reward. When you have a patched prayer, a prayer that has an error and that you then correct it, you get multiple reward. Why? One, you get the reward because you fix in the prayer and you're doing the extra acts of worship that go along with making the prayer, with correcting the mistake you made. But two, you had to go and seek the information, seek the knowledge to know how to do that. So you're getting multiple reward. And the shaitan, a'udhu billah, he likes to come and try to make us feel bad about our prayer and second guess and think we have errors. But when we have this information, eventually he'll leave us because he'll get tired of making us get even more reward for our prayer by doing the patch prayer. So I just wanted to share those thoughts today about why learning and implementing this information is so important. It helps us to maintain that state of purity, that state of forgiveness, and be in a state of gratitude for all of these bounties we get from Allah Ta'ala in the form of these opportunities to get forgiveness and to get purified. And so I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to turn it over to my teacher, to our teacher, Shaykh Ameen. And I pray that Allah blesses us to be successful in obtaining this information and implementing it in a way that's pleasing to Him. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh Ameen.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashraf al-mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa ashabihi wa tabi'ina lahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin an-nabiyil ummi wa azwaji ummahatil mu'minin wa dhurriyyatihi wa ahli bait. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Ana ba'd. So I want to say to my audience that I greatly appreciate your participation, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all rewards for doing this type of work. And I also want to thank Dr. Habib and Ishaq for the work they put in to have this program run smoothly. I think that Dr. Habib is doing a wonderful job, and I've had many people say that to me, that he's doing a wonderful job. And because you don't see Ishaq, you may not realize that he is doing a wonderful job as well, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm sure, will reward them greatly for putting us in a position to be able to do this type of work. Okay. The jurists who discuss things from history, as you should know, history is of the most importance so that a person can see where they come from and have some idea where they're trying to go. So you want to be able to look at history and see what things are appropriate and apply to your life. So in history, they talk about the Arabs who lived in the desert. And because they had lived there all the time, their whole life, anything that happened in the desert's vicinity, even if it was further away, as long as they could see out there, they had some idea what to anticipate was coming in their direction. Because of the land, the desert, it gave them a vision. They could see very far out. And the hadith say when they used to look out and they saw it would appear to be a problem coming in their direction, they used to say, here comes the mercy of Allah. So when the jurists break down this discussion, they say what they meant was, here comes the mercy of Allah. That, in fact, whenever problems come to you, the way we see it is not exactly what it is. To us, it may seem like an earth-shattering affair. Oh my goodness, what a problem. But from where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends us the problems from, it's only for us the ability to achieve His mercy, to find His mercy in the problem. So what that means is that it's not the problem that's so important, it's the way that you deal with the problem that's important. So everybody has problems. Everybody has problems. The difference between the people of faith and other people is that when the problems would come to the Sahaba, they considered the problems as an opportunity. As an opportunity to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and pleasure by the way they dealt with the problem. So as we look at things of today, not only are we having our own personal problems, but we are having worldwide problems that no one can seem to find a solution for. Because the solution, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, for every illness, there's a cure. It's just that we don't know how to find the cure. And the people have a tendency to always look for the cure in something physical. But we know as people of faith that it's more to that. It's more to your problems and how to fix things and so on and so forth is in Iman and practice. The way you see something is wrong, you don't keep worrying about that. You look at the history and you say, what did I do that maybe I keep getting problems. And you make tell, boy, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you and forgive you and so on and so forth. And you try to perfect your life, put your life in a way that no matter what comes to you, you feel safe because you are attempting to do as best you can to try to stay in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what he expects from us. Once a person starts to do that on a regular basis, they don't worry too much about the problem. They don't worry too much about whatever the problem is. They don't worry too much about that because it becomes a standard for them to deal with almost everything in the same way. Calmly, intelligently, and most of all, with faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The jurist said you have to have fear and hope. Fear and hope. If a person is trying to steady himself or herself by the rules because they don't want to be offensive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah. If they have hope that in fact they can't do everything precisely, and they hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive, alhamdulillah, this is good too. But you have to have the right balance. The right balance. You can't do this if you're doing haram all over the place and then say, I have fear of Allah. I have hope that Allah will forgive. But if you have some little things here and there, which is human, we're not supposed to be like the angels. Human, faulty. Then you have something to make tawbah for, and you have the hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you because it's not everything that you're doing that's so bad. Only this may be some human frailty, and you do it, mashallah. And then you ask Allah to forgive you. And we believe that he will forgive because your life is not so chock full of badness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, even if your sins go from the earth to the heavens, he will forgive. Even if your sins are like the foam from the sea, he will forgive. But we can't just live on that alone. We have to try to limit ourselves. We have to try to gain his mercy through whatever situations he puts us in. We try to approach it in the way that we can discern that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes best. Not what we like best. This is why history is so important, because that's the only way we know what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba, the Taba'in, what they did in history shows us what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes. He sent those people to us so that we would have an example to judge by in regards to what we do, what we avoid, what we approach. He gave us a standard to go by through those people. This is the difference of Islam and everything else. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he sent Islam to the people, he sent us with a guide. With a guide. He sent the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to show us by example. He sent Gabriel alayhi salam to teach and guide Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the topmost is that he sent Al-Quran as a roadmap to the success for the believers. So we have an abundance of rules that no other religion has. For everything we need to be in good condition with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for us if we just follow the rules. It's like the governor says to the people, keep a distance to avoid this virus spreading. Keep your distance. Keep cleanliness. Wash your hands with soap often, and wear your mask, because the mask not only protects you, but it protects the people around you. So when you walk around, you look around, you see many people, at least regarding the mask, because we don't know what they do up besides that, but we see them wearing their mask. We see many people following those rules. But then we see many people that don't follow those rules. Well, this is the same in life. This problem that we're having now is a test and a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those people who follow the rules. It's a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those people who try to follow the rules. They should benefit from it. So even in problems, there must be a way to get benefit from it. And that way is to follow the rules, to know history. So education always is of most importance in everything we do in our life. One of the ways to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is to understand the rules and be able to follow the rules from history. So it is my prayer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us mercy from this pandemic. For the people of knowledge, we won't approach this thing as chaos and hysteria, or anything else that comes in our life. We're supposed to be intelligent creatures of faith, that we don't panic. We just try and follow the rules. So at the end result, no matter how, they talk about the Sahaba and their problems with the disbelievers in history. And they died in all types of gruesome ways, at the hands of the disbelievers. But they never harped on the fact of how gruesome, having their entrails eaten and things of that nature. Just gruesome. Sometimes the family members were doing horrendous things to the Muslim family member, as the enemy. But they didn't harp on that. What they did was they treated it as if it was martyrdom. That even dying in that way, that's temporary. That's just an instant in time. But after that, they would prosper from it in Jannah. So there was no reason to panic. There's no reason to lose faith. People of faith know that when situations come to you, you don't panic and act crazy and run around pulling out your hair. No, in fact, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let us have the good result from even our problems and the problems of the world and all these different things that come to you throughout your life. And once you do that, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears us. There's no question that He hears us. So we don't have to worry about, consistently, oh my God, these problems. Don't let it bother you. Just try to follow the rules. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and have mercy on us. Protect us even from ourselves. Because many times ourself can be our biggest enemy. Not the people out there that we can see. Not the problems we can see coming. That's upon us. But many times the problem is us ourselves. We must inspect ourselves. Tawbah means that, repentance means that you have to tell the people, before we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we don't know when that's going to be, so you should do it immediately. We have to talk to the people that we have done things to and ask their forgiveness. Because in fact, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, there's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not put His hand in when we meet Him. That's when somebody has done something to you, or you have done something to them that is oppressive. When that happens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say He will give the oppressed person from the virtues or the good deeds of the oppressor until the oppressor runs out of deeds. It has to be a measurement that comes up to fulfill how much oppression he applied. And the tradition says that even if after all of that, he still hasn't fulfilled the necessity of giving his good deeds to the one he oppressed, then the oppressed person has the right to give his sins to the oppressor. Can you imagine how devastating a position this could be? When simply the person who thinks so greatly of themselves should say, I'm sorry. while that person is still on this earth and alive. I'm sorry. And try to correct their dealings with that person. Don't stubbornly stand around acting like you got it going on. No. Be contrite. Think about your future with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and correct yourself. In any case, I thought it was necessary because, we have so many misconceived notions going on in the world today. Those people who are talking about the Black Lives Matter, these problems, enormous problems that go back to the inception of our life in America. Enormous problems, enormous. The perpetrators of those crimes, beyond any shadow of a doubt, will answer. And those people who perpetuated that idea that one person of color is better than another, this bias and prejudice that allowed them to think they had the right to enslave people. And as time went on, it became a part of the thought of humanity. The only ones that really matter was us. That's how they look at it. And everybody else is incidental. They just here to help, to serve us. Well, for the people of faith who happen to be people of color and other people, because, everybody feels oppression. It don't have nothing to do with your color. It has more to do with what people are doing to you or to other people like you just because. You could be the best, nicest person in the world and be looked at as a piece of garbage just because you're not conform to the status quo, or to look like the other person, or be from their nation, or whatever it is, have their language, whatever it is. When it's perpetrated against other people in regards to livelihood, freedom, these things are oppression, and they will be answered for. So people of faith, of course, you would want to bring that out, because it's not really changing. You do want to make it public knowledge. Look what they're doing, but don't let it become something that separates you from your faith. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. There's no question. We don't have to become crazy with this idea. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. We do what we can. And we hope that, there is some ending to this problem. But we know for sure, if it doesn't end here and now, it will end there later. No question. No question. The people of faith always treated problems as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the problem and will send an answer for the problem either now or later. But he knows, he hears, he sees, and he understands, and he will make an adequate more than adequate judgment that will change everything. So don't worry. If you're a person of belief, you must be successful. It's not enough to say, I believe, but you have to put your belief into practice, and it takes work. It's not something that you can helter-skelter, like do a little today and maybe tomorrow, maybe, and then fall off for a week and then come back 3 weeks later and like that. This is not faith. Faith is continuous struggle, continuous. That's what we hear. Continuous struggle with the hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us his mercy from our continuous struggle in the light of day. So it's not the problems that we need to always be so worried about. Oh my God. Well, our problems are such that they're taking over our life. No. The problems are this instance in time. In the Malushri Yusra, in the Malushri Yusra. It's gonna get better for the people who believe and try hard to live better, do better. But for those people who don't, there has to be a measure that allows some people to outdo other people. So the balance, like they have a saying, either you're for or you're against. Don't care about the way other people look at you. The people of society may think, look at those Muslims are crazy. I once heard, what's his name? The comedian. He said, I would like to be a Muslim, but don't they have those short sets for the summer? So he thought that was funny. That was a big joke. That Muslims cover their auras all the time, keep themselves covered. Laugh now. But remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he ain't sent them in no short set either. And they were in the heart of the desert. So, history. Learn your history. If you don't know, ask somebody that knows. Learn your history and try to apply the things that are pertinent to your life by doing them, not just talking about them. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to me. I want to clarify one thing here. Suppose that you have an impurity in the base of your shoes and forget, and then remember, or you did not know, and then you realize this while you are in prayer. So basically what this discussion, we had discussed this last week. I've had a few questions from it. Oh, 1 second, class. You need money now? I gave you enough? Okay. Assalamu alaikum. So, Allahumma salli wa sallam mubarak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. We were discussing how, you have to avoid impurities in your prayer. Sometimes you know that they're there. If you know they're there, before you start the prayer, and you don't clean it before you start the prayer, and you have water, the ability to use the water, or you have some other garment that you could change into, and or you have the time, meaning before the prayer goes into its qadda time or overdue time, then if you don't clean it and you go into the prayer, you're wasting your time because the prayer will be invalid. The prayer will be invalid. So you can't be lazy and say, I'm going to clean it later. Because if you don't clean it and you have the ability, then the prayer would be invalid. In which case, you're just wasting your time until you clean it. But let's say you don't realize that you have this impurity before you go into the prayer. So the ruling is that to be judged for something against you, you have to have knowledge of it. In general, you have to have knowledge of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He don't punish for things that a person has no knowledge of, unless the person is not careful and doesn't and tries to know about what he has to know to be successful in his ibadah or in his endeavors in life. So it's not enough to say I didn't know, because even in Islam, I didn't know covers a wide range. Because after you say I didn't know, they're gonna ask you, why didn't you know? Were you in an environment that it was impossible for you to have this information? Or was the information readily available, but you decided that you didn't need it, so you didn't search it out? Or, what is it? You have to have some reasoning to say I didn't know. And so if there's not an excuse for you not knowing, then you will be held accountable. Some people used to think that they didn't have to study and learn, because as long as they didn't study and learn, they wouldn't be held accountable for that when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This used to be like common knowledge that people used to think. They somehow worked that out in their own mind. And it became, the information that was being passed around. And then scholarship came to America. Islamic scholarship, and taught us the difference. Then we realized it's not enough not to know. If you can know, if there's nothing preventing you from knowing, then you are held responsible. So ignorance is not an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse when you could know. So what we're talking about, let's say you have an impurity in your shoe, or in the base of your shoe, an impurity. And you forget. You know, you get some impurity on your shoe, you forget. And then you remember when you're in your prayer. Or you didn't know it was there, and you're in your prayer, and you realize while in your prayer that it was there. It could be either one of those two things. So the jurors say if you take your feet slowly out of your shoes, your prayer is valid. And you can continue praying. But they have some things that you have to know about in order to be able to keep praying. And that is that you can't lift your feet up and take one foot and push the shoe off by the other foot. In other words, you have to be able to slowly and easily remove it so that the shoe doesn't come up off the ground. If the shoe comes up off the ground, the jurists say call this carrying the impurity, in which case the carrying of the impurity will be considered as enough to cancel that prayer. It will become invalid because of carrying the impurity. But if you could slip your foot out of your shoe, as I said last week, kind of step away from the impurity and make your prayer, you could continue praying and the prayer would be valid. But let's say that the impurity is on the top of the shoe, see, visible. If it's on the top of the shoe and visible, you have to remove it. Even if it means stop the prayer you're making, remove it, and start a new prayer. Because you cannot maintain a prayer while the impurity is visible on the top of your foot, top of your shoe. So, okay. One of the main reasons for that is because if I was in class, some of the students would be saying, because it's visible. Absolutely. How can you say I didn't know it was there when it's completely visible? So you have to stop. Because if it's on the top of your shoe and you go to lift it to clean it off or whatever, it still would be carrying the impurity, and it would be an invalid prayer. So one thing is, you have to forget that it was, let's say you're looking for a reason to try and save your prayer. You can't save that prayer if it's on the top of your shoe. It's impossible for you to be praying with your shoe and make it and not see the impurity. See, so you know it's there. That means you had to fix it before you started. Okay. Now, then the question comes up, well, what if it's the kuf? The kuf, meaning the leather socks that you put on after you have made a complete wudu by washing over your feet without anything on the foot. And then after you have made that complete wudu, then you put on your leather socks or your kuf. And you can wipe over this all day. It says, If you take your feet out of the kuf, your prayer would become invalid. Not because of the impurity, but because of taking your feet out of the kuf, which would then break your ablution. That's it. That's it. That today we have people who wear kuf as fashion. It's like, you know, when they go into the store, the Islamic type stores, and they buy the leather socks, you know, the kuf, and they have no idea about the rules that go with wearing of the kuf. So, you know, you find people doing things that's against the rulings that allow you to maintain your ibadah with the kuf on, but they don't know. But why don't they know? They don't know because they don't take the time to find out, because the information is available. They're more inclined to do it because everybody else is wearing the kuf, and it's like a fashion statement. But many of those people who are wearing it as a fashion statement do not understand the rules of wearing the kuf. One of the main rules is that if you take your foot out of the kuf after having made wudu and put your kuf on, when you take your foot out of the kuf, it breaks the ablution, which means that to put the kuf back on, you have to make a new ablution, wiping over your foot with water without the kuf on, and then you can put your kuf on again and start again that process. Okay. So I'm going to stop that part here and let people who have any type of question can ask me. It doesn't only have to be on this subject, but whatever you need, inshallah. Okay, Dr. Habib, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here, Shaykh.
Okay, shukran. Oh, I hear Muhammad.
Yeah, you too. I ran out the room for a second and he ran in. Okay. I'm sorry about that, Shaykh.
That's all right. I know you gotta do it. You're a family man. Family men, you know, we sometimes we try to, you know, do a lot of different things, but always family first. Always. Yeah, it's being a teacher of people in Islam. Most of the jurists, you never see or know about their family at all. It's almost as if their families don't exist. There's different reasons that they behave that way, but behind the scene where the people don't see them, the family takes precedent. So it's just that, you know, because we're on the computer and, you know, I know Muhammad, and, you know, that I do like that. But in fact, the jurists hid their families away from the public eye. So their wives, daughters, you know, they always stayed out of the public eye. It's a part of the character of the people of distinction. See? Okay. As you like.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Shaykh. So we have 2 questions that are posted in the chat so far. Inshallah, please, if you have questions, please post them in the chat. First question we have is from Brother Frank. Now, Brother Frank is asking, he said, I was told that I need to pay 2.5% on any money left over each month after I pay all bills as a cat. So he's asking a general question about how zakat works.
Okay. speak to Frank. Frank,
Well,
make yourself, you're on.
I'm on. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam tullah. Ask me that question again.
I was told that I need to pay 2.5% as zakat on any money I have left over each month after I pay my monthly bills.
Okay. I'm laughing because this is the epitome of what I've been trying to explain about people who are giving information to other people and don't have knowledge of that. They're making some talk as something that they heard from somebody else or their own analysis or something like that. But it's necessary to have knowledge of something before you give information to people. Because you, the person who gives the knowledge, give that information without having knowledge of it, is going to be held accountable for it because they're making life difficult for people and it's not a requirement. So this information that they gave you is the exact opposite of what Islam is trying to achieve. Islam makes it easy for us. Easy. There are two zakats. One is called Zakatul Fitr, and the other is called Zakatul Mal. Zakatul Fitr is the zakat that comes after the fasting of Ramadan, and it should be paid before the prayer of the Eid. That is Zakatul Fitr. And Zakatul Fitr, in most places, have a set amount that everyone is required to pay. This amount is non-negotiable. The Sahaba say if somebody, the Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhiyallahu say if somebody didn't pay their zakat, he would make war on them. See, but this is that zakat is only once in a year. And it comes after the fast of Ramadan, before the prayer for the Eid. And I think our zakat now is $10 a person. And you can ask me questions about that later. I know there's always the same type of questions. There's no new questions. But in fact, then there's Zakatul Mal. Zakatul Mal is the zakat. My teacher didn't, the way people today are understanding about Zakatul Mal and these things, he didn't agree with them. He said he used to tell me, don't even think about that. That doesn't apply to you. Zakatul Mal, he considered, is only for people who are wealthy. I mean, like money wealthy. Big business owners, people who, ladies who have like a multitude of jewelry that's expensive jewelry that, if they cashed it in, they would have wealth. These type of things, Zakatul Mal applies to them, not to common people. Common people don't have no money to pay Zakatul Mal. So, they're exempt from trying to figure out what should they pay for Zakatul Mal because it's not for them. It's for wealthy people who got big bank accounts and stuff like that. It's not for everybody. So that one, you can put it to the side unless, you come into a whole lot of money, then, you're responsible for, paying some zakat on that money. But in regards to every time you take money, once a month or something, that's not zakat. If you want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by sharing your money with somebody, that's your choice. It's not an order. You see, zakat are the things that you must do. You must do. Sadaqah, that's things that you have a choice. Your choice can be, I want to give something, but it don't have no exact number. If you choose, give them $1, give them 1,000, give them 10,000, whatever you choose, you have the right to do that. But if you don't give them nothing, you can't be held accountable for something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't order. So somebody gave you the wrong advice. See? And they should correct themselves and try to remember who else they gave this wrong advice to, and ask them to, oh, forgive me, I'm sorry, I gave you bad advice. I should have asked the scholars or somebody about that before I told you to do it. And in other words, now you know. So when you want to tell somebody about paying zakat, do not tell them about when you take money out of the account or the bank or whatever, every time you do it once a month, you got to pay a zakat. No. No. Don't tell that to anybody. See? Because you would be giving them the wrong advice. You tell them there's 2 zakats. Every year, one of them, if you don't pay it, then your fasting will be suspended from between the earth and the sky until you pay that zakat. See? So if a person is fasting Ramadan and they don't pay that zakat, then their fasting is nullified until the zakat is paid. If they never paid the zakat for that, then they was just going hungry for no reason. So they're not going to get no reward for that. Okay. And zakatul mal, that's zakatul fitr. And zakatul mal is a zakat for the people who have money, who have wealth. They're responsible to pay that. Not the everyday man, but the ones who have much more than others. Okay. Is that enough for you, Frank?
Yeah, sure.
Afwan. As you like, Dr. Rasul.
Yes, sir. We have another question that has to do with the hoof, the leather sock. The sister's asking, with the leather sock, when you take the leather sock off, I'm assuming she means if you have wudu and you put the sock on. When you take the sock off, do you have to renew your wudu before the next salat, or do you just wash your foot?
No, you have to renew the wudu. The wudu, the foot is a part of the wudu. So if you do just the foot, you're only doing a part of the wudu, but not the wudu itself. So when you take the kuf off, you break your complete wudu. So to put the kuf back on again, you need to wipe over your foot without anything between your hand, the water, and your skin on your feet. Make that wudu like that, and then you can put the kuf back on and wipe over it during the course of the day, as you like.
Yes, Shaykh. There's another question about times of prayer, and they asked when we talk about the prayer being late, how much time after the prayer comes in do you have before the prayer is regarded late?
Okay. Let me see if I understand the question. They want me to answer for each prayer when that prayer is considered as qadha.
I think so. I don't know if they if they caught the lesson yet about it being different for different prayers or not, but I think they want to know. Yes, they just say yes. They want to know when it's considered qadda for each prayer.
That's kind of a lot to explain. I'll give you a short version of that. Generally, when the next prayer, like let's say we're in Zohar time now, and so you can see Zohar has already come in. I realize that as I'm teaching you class. So it's not like I don't know that it's Zohar time, but I do know that it's in the what's called the Adda time for Zohar. It means that's the good time because the prayer just came in not long ago. And I can talk to you in class for a little more time because I'm not in violation. I'm not in violation. But when it comes, it's time for us to come in. When us comes in, now I'm in what's called the obligatory time that I should have made Zohar prayer that came in before us. So that obligatory time, that lasts until us time is going out. When that happens, now I'm in a time that's called the overdue time. In general, it means that I should have prayed Zohar a long time ago, and now I have to pray Zohar. It's obligatory. And if I don't pray it now, it's going to make a problem for me later because Asa prayer is a key to knowing that I should have prayed Zohar prayer a long time ago. So generally you look at not the clock, not the watch, but you look at the natural signs that tell you, oh, I should have made that prayer already. Like yesterday, I'll give you for instance. Yesterday, I was half asleep, very tired that yesterday, and half asleep trying to stay up for the Maghrib prayer. I was trying to stay awake, but I was very tired, very sleepy. And as I was sitting there trying to stay awake, I started to doze off like that. And I said, oh, I know it gotta be getting time for Maghrib. Let me wake up. And even though it was in my mind, physically I didn't move, but I did open my eyes a little bit. And when I opened my eyes, I saw redness in the sky, redness on the glass of the windows. That redness told me that Maghrib is coming. So physically now, I was able to get up, go make wudu for the nodding off and sleep. I was able to go make wudu, come back, and it was time for prayer. You see, the reason I knew that was because of the natural signs. So knowing about your times for prayer requires knowledge of the natural signs. So if you like, because I do get this question quite a bit, maybe I can make that a class soon that because it's intricate. It's not just like it's not like it's cut and dry as I'm telling you. It needs a lot more information about it, and I'll do that soon, inshallah. Let me just finish doing this, and then I'll do that, inshallah. But in general, the next prayer is the key to knowing that the prayer that you should have made is either optional, obligatory, or overdue. When it's overdue, it means that the next prayer has come and gone. The next prayer has come and gone, and your prayer now is very much overdue. So, the jurists say groups of prayers share their time. Zohar and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. So you have to remember, according to the madhab of Imam Malik, that Zohar and Asr share a time. In order for Asr to be right, Zohar has to be right if it doesn't have some medical excuse. With Maghrib and Isha, it's the exact same thing. So they share in time. I think that's somebody's phone. As in any case, I don't know if that satisfies what you need right now, but that's the best I can do without having to do a whole class on this subject. Okay, one other thing, the kuf that I talked about previously, according to the madhab Imam Malik, the kuf have to be halal leather. Halal leather. The kuf have to be halal leather. And this is the madhab Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi. Okay, as you like, Dr. Rasul.
Alhamdulillah. And the person who asked that question is saying, thank you, that was very helpful. And
Alhamdulillah.
They got it. And they're looking forward to when we do that lesson, inshallah.
Yeah, I'll do it after this one, inshallah. Just to get it out the way, because I get a lot of questions about that.
Inshallah. Someone also asked, regarding impurities. They said in the case of an impurity like urine, if it dries, like say you got some urine on your clothes and it dries on your shoes or your pants or something like that, and you I guess you don't clean it before it dries, what do you have to do then? If you
No, Dr. Habib, they have the wrong understanding. Let me explain.
Okay.
It's not a matter of dry or not dry. It's a matter of, do you know it's there or not know it's there? So we'll say, if it's urine and you know it's urine, you have to remove it. Even if it becomes dry, the decision of the urine of the impurity is still there. See, if it's your urine and if it's a small amount and it gets to you, it's forgivable. Don't worry about that. But if it's some urine from someplace else and it gets to you, it has to be removed even if it dries, unless you don't know it's there. If you don't know it's there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't make you responsible until you know. But wet and dry for impurity is a matter of, he left us, that she says, Alhamdulillah, got it. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for writing that. All right, Dr. Habib, that's enough for that. What else do you have?
So right now there's only one other question. It's about zakat, and it might be a little intricate. But
might be a little what?
A little intricate.
You just tell me what it is, and I'll see if I can answer it, inshallah.
So the question is regarding what you said about zakat. is Shaykh saying that a person who has monies in excess of their living expenses doesn't necessarily have to pay for zakat?
No, I'm saying that if you have money far exceeding 50% of the people in this country of color are living below the poverty level. If that's the case, how could they be considered as pay, to be necessary for them to pay zakat al-mal because they're just barely living? People in other countries, what our people are barely living off of, they would be considered as maybe middle class if they had that much. So, when they're talking about wealth, they're talking about much more than you normally would need to live. See? And that's once a year that they should pay on what they own. They own a house, they own a business, they own limousines, whatever that is above, pretty much above what everybody else has, they have to pay zakat for that. Okay, as you like.
Yes, Shaykh. So would it be correct to say it's not just that you have to have some money in savings, you have to have a certain amount, you have to be past a certain threshold of what you have above your living expenses before you have to pay zakat?
Absolutely. Because listen, the common man, if he have a little bit of savings, he gotta be very careful every day on what he spends his money on, because his little bit of savings will disappear so fast he'll be back in poverty. He won't have nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. So if you got a little bit of savings, I can't give it a measurement and say, if you have $20,000 in your bank account, means that means that you wealthy? Absolutely not. $20,000 in America, that'll be gone in no time. You gotta be, you gotta be kind of careful on what you do with your monies. Me, I'm not so good at it because I don't really care that much about money, but except for what I can use the money for, hopefully for some benefit for later. But at the same time, I can't be a spendthrift. I have to sort of watch where my money is going, But if somebody comes to me with a good story, and I can discern they really in need, I'm gonna give them the money. I'm gonna give it to them. Sometimes my family look at me and go, "What are you doing? Why you get?" But that's the cut of my jib. That's how I am. I'm created that way, But at the same time, I realize if somebody's just wasting my money, then they're gonna owe me later. They're gonna owe me later. See? So my thing is that you have to have a whole lot more than normal than other people for this to apply to you. That's so much so that, let's say, I lose 10,000. Well, it's not gonna hurt nothing. Who cares? But the funny part, the people who could afford to do that are the ones who don't do it. You may get out of many people who have that kind of ability, a few of them actually are philanthropists and give money to help people. Okay. I'm trying to read what this says, but sometimes they send me messages that pop up on the screen.
So someone typed a question in the chat about, I don't know if somebody's asking you something. Well, somebody asked concerning the zakat, do we pay on the gain on a 401k yearly or until we start to withdraw that money?
I guess it depends on how much you have in there. And, generally, no, you don't pay on that just because it's sitting in the account. Like that's like in different companies, it works differently. See, I think that if you want to take money out of those accounts, you have to have different reasons. It's different reasons that they allow you or don't allow you. I would say at the end of the day, when you're going to take your money from that particular account, if it's an exuberant amount, you would pay zakat on that when it's time for zakatul mal. But if it's not like that, then you don't owe anything to Islam for that. Only when it's time for zakatul mal and it coincides with you taking, your monies from that account, then you should pay it. But it doesn't have to be, because it's in an account, doesn't mean that when every month or something, when you take out a certain amount and say, well, this is for the zakat. No, zakatul mal is only once a year. And the money have to be easily accessible. That's your money. To take money out of some of those accounts, you got to go do a whole bunch of stuff to get your own money. And it depends on the company. If the company still is living up to its obligation regarding matching money, they're not all the same. So it's almost impossible for me to answer that question the way it was brought to me without some specifics. It's the same thing with contracts on interest. All of them are not the same. Each contract is different. That's why most of the ulama don't like having to deal with that subject, because you got to read the contracts. You got to see which part allows you to call this that instead of interest, and it gets really complicated. So my advice to people: don't make a problem for yourself. Zakatul mal is for what you have. That is your monies, your business, that is yours and available to you. Not something that is in an account that will become available to you after you make the request for it. Okay. That's the best I can answer that question. As you like. I'm going to stop very shortly.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. And if it's okay, I just want to share with the group, I can attest to what Shaykh Ameen is saying, that you may read things online about Islamic finance, but when you talk to the people who write a lot of that stuff, they'll tell you they're kind of doing an approximation. So don't read the things that try to make it cut and dry and think, oh, this means it's this amount of money, because the scholars will tell you they're kind of just doing their best job, just like Shaykh Ameen is saying. They don't really like to deal with it because it's intricate, So don't get confused when we have Shaykh Ameen here to help us, see it clearly, inshallah. And that's not directed to anybody in particular. I don't want anybody to think that I'm directing it to anybody because of any of the questions. I thought the questions were good. But alhamdulillah, I don't see any more questions right now. I think Shaykh, I actually had a question that I wanted to ask you, if it's okay, if I can ask one last question. Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Shaykh. So for a tayammum, I know that when, you taught me that when you make a tayammum, it only lasts for that prayer. But what if you're combining and shortening the Dhuhr and the Asr prayer? Do you need to make a new tayammum before Asr?
Yeah, actually, a tayammum only lasts until the end of the prayer that you made a tayammum for. Okay? So let's say you're going to join Zuhr and Asr. When you make the tayammum for Dhuhr, you don't make the tayammum for Dhuhr and Asr. You make for Dhuhr, you make the tayammum. when you say salam alaikum or salam alaikum rahmatullah, you make the niyyah for a tayammum for us. Then you make a tayammum and then you make us. So as soon as that prayer, as soon as you finish that tayammum is gone. So if you have to make a tayammum again, you make it directly prior to that action you're going to perform. You understand what I said? Okay.
Yes, Shaykh. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alhamdulillah. I see someone has their hand up, but I'm wondering if that's a mistake or.
It's okay. I know. Look, if I was in the position of the people today, and there was somebody available that I could get information from on any consistent basis, I would be annoying. I can guarantee you, I would be annoying that I would always be trying to get information, and I don't understand if the people, if the people are not annoying to me, then I'm saying to myself, oh, okay, I'm going to take a rest then. But they're supposed to be annoying if they come from a society that has very limited resources to get the proper Islamic information. They're supposed to be annoying. If they're not annoying, that's not on me, that's on them. Because I was annoying to my teachers. I was annoying, brother. And I would travel for long distances for small things that would be considered small to somebody else. But I had to know what Islam said about that particular thing, to the point that I couldn't rest until I found out. So yeah, being annoying is, like my teacher used to say, there's no bad questions. Even if you ask a question, whatever answer you get back, that becomes knowledge about that subject, about that thing. So there's no bad questions. Okay, as you like.
Thank you for making us feel better, Shaykh.
Alhamdulillah.
About asking so many questions.
That's okay.
Brother Hassan, you want to take yourself off mute and ask your question?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh Ameen. Thank you so very much for making it easy for me to be annoying.
Alhamdulillah, it's okay. You're not annoying. It's okay. Ask your question.
My question has to do, it's a question about wudu as well. Often, and Dr. Habib, we've gone over this again. I'm just, it's something that just I haven't grasped it completely yet.
Just ask me. Just ask the question. Because see, what becomes the problem when people with questions is that Frank does it very well. He does good. He writes down a litany of questions, and then when he have the ability to ask questions, he go right to the question. Well, Shaykh, what is this, that? And then I answer that. Then he goes, and then I have another question. What is that? See, because he's prepared to ask the question. And to me, that is the most important thing. Is like, if somebody goes to ask me a question, and then they tell me a whole bunch of other stuff before we actually get to the question, I may not want to answer them so many times. Okay, as you like.
I understand.
Okay.
And I did write down a question, but I raised my hand because I thought Habib was closing. My question deals with wudu and wiping over shoes, not kuffs, but shoes.
Okay, what's the question?
When we go to when we wipe over our shoes, our wudu is still good. Is our wudu still good? And then when we go to the bathroom, I take my shoes off, but I put my shoes back on to go into the bathroom, and I make wudu again and I wipe over my shoes. Is that okay?
Good. So the question is a very valid question. I've had this question over the years so many times. Okay, So the shoe and the kuf are not the same. Not the same at all. If you take off the kuf, your wudu is automatically broken. If you make wudu over your shoe, take your shoe off, put your shoe on the shoe rack, go and make prayer, come back, put your shoe back on. You don't need to make another wudu because your wudu was never broken. You understand? So it's two different things. The rules of kuf and the rules of wearing your shoe, of wiping over your shoe. And also because the madhab is very strict in regards to certain things like the leather. For the shoe, because of the location that we're in this country, you can go search high and low. You may never find an adequate pair of shoes made of halal leather, you know. So you're exempt from that, and you get to use the decision from the Hanafi school that says that any type of leather that has been treated is called halal, as long as the animal is a halal animal, and its leather is also halal if it's treated. So what they mean by treated, I think you call it tanning. You won't find shoes here, as far as I know. I'm not a shopper type. So I don't know if they actually have some place you can buy. I don't think Islam has gone that far in this country yet, where you can go to the store and say, I want a pair of halal shoes. I don't think so. But but if it's the kuf, when you take it off, you break the wudu. If it's the shoe, when you take it off, it doesn't break the wudu. That's the simple answer. If it's kuf and you take it off, it breaks the wudu. If it's your shoe, you take it off, it does not break the wudu. You can change and you can use a different pair of shoes after you put on one pair and wipe off, and then it don't matter. That doesn't have anything to do with the wudu's decision of what breaks the wudu. But with kuf, you take it off immediately that you take it off, or it comes busted open like on the sides or the front. Those things break the wudu immediately. See? Shoes, no. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Sheikh. Thank you. Thank you, Sheikh.
You're very welcome, young man. And I'm always happy to help you. But with questions, try to go directly to the question, inshallah. It saves us all a lot of time and difficulty.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. In the future, I will, Sheikh.
Thank you so much.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, we will, Brother Hassan.
Right, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. I say that because I know you're like me, so we have to work on being concise with our questions. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Shaykh Ameen. That's all the questions we have for now. We thank you, and alhamdulillah, as always.
I didn't have no sisters' questions.
Some of the questions that I asked came from sisters about the times for prayer and the kuf. I just try not to expose who's asking the questions. So.
If you can, let me just say this. If you can, from now on, when it's a question from a sister, just mention to me, this is a question from a sister, because
yes,
many times the way I answer a question for women, it has some little differences than when I answer the questions for men, because in fiqh they make allowances for some women's things, especially if they're women with children and so on and so forth, that they don't make those same allowances for men. And I when I'm going to answer a sister's question, I want her to know the things that come with that answer that are of ease, that make it easy for her. See, men, if I can help them with making something a little easier, alhamdulillah. But women, it's like a priority because their life is their life after, having the fast Ramadan and to make their prayers only. But their life is kind of different, and there's some other things that they need to know that I have to talk to them about. I don't want to go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he questions me, why didn't I tell them? So the thing is, if I tell them and they don't do it, or they do whatever they want, then my responsibility is I'm finished. I did my duty. Because one of the things Dr. Dunya emphasized to me was about women, that you have to be very careful not to oppress women. See? And in my world, not giving information when they should have it that would make it easier for them is a type of oppression. But on the other hand, when you give them the right information and then they do whatever they imagination or their emotion or whatever, or just their naf or their desire, whatever it is, they don't follow the direction, they won't be able to say, I didn't know. Okay. As you like, Dr. Habib.
Got it, Shaykh. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Shaykh. Unless you wanted to, let us know anything else, you can close out if you like, Shaykh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, walaikum salam. The one time I don't ask you if you have any announcements. I'm sorry, Sidi Ishaq. That's for the Ishaq.
Oh, sure, Ishaq, what is it? What do you need?
So I did have a follow-up question for the question about urine. For us that have small kids who are not potty trained yet, if we're carrying a child and we don't know until later that the child urinated and we didn't feel it and we didn't see it, do we make up those salats that we may have, or how does it work with the urine of a child?
Okay. If it's the child's caretaker, the mother is not responsible to make up those prayers, because I know that sometimes the father becomes the caretaker. If it's the caretaker on a regular basis, and the child urinates on the person, it's generally considered as a very forgivable thing. It's not nothing big. But I think it goes like, if it's a boy, you sprinkle water on that spot. Bismillah, you sprinkle water on that spot. If it's a girl, you actually wash the garment later, to remove that urine. But in general, if it's somebody who takes care of that child all the time, and they get some urine for carrying the child, and forget about that. That's not big. That's very small if it's even some type of infraction. But it's more that the urine have to be from some other source. Like, I don't even know how somebody else's urine could get on you, but the jurists, it must be some way, because they don't do hypothetical. So, but if it's a child that you take care of every day, it's your child that you take care of every day, you're his caretaker, and some of his urine get on you, that's nothing. Don't worry about it. Just sprinkle a little water on the spot later and continue your day. You need more?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. And I just want to mention this class from Shaykh Ameen is sponsored by Nasr El America, our organization that supports Islamic learning as well as humanitarian efforts. And before I let Shaykh Ameen close out, Muhammad wants to come and give you salam, Shaykh. He's been bursting at the door. His mother's been keeping him at bay, but since we're closing, I forgot let him come in and give you salam. Say salam alaikum, Shaykh Ameen.
Alaikum salam, Muhammad. Muhammad, behave. Muhammad, I'm gonna send you a toy, inshallah. So you want to get the toy, you and Ibrahim, be good. You gotta earn it. All right.
You're gonna be good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Shaykh Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum.
What toy I want you to
I'll tell you later, Muhammad.
Okay. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء وممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة مسيح الدجال ومن عذاب النار وسوء المصير إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.
Walaikum salam. Shaykh.
Alaikum salam.